Today I'm going to talk about AI in the use of AI in English language teaching, whether it's a crutch or a necessity. So I'll be talking about it because there is a lot going on when we talk about use of artificial intelligence, especially the generative artificial intelligence in by the English language teachers in English language teaching or by the English language learners. I have explored it a little bit, which I'll be talking about. I teach at a university in Islamabad, Pakistan, as an assistant professor. So today I'm going to talk about the a little bit research that I have done in this particular area. Uh, to my side, it's low. So let me just move on to the. So in the next 20 minutes, I'll be giving a brief introduction of the topic and the literary context, like the literature that's written in this field. Then I'll talk about the analytical framework, methodology, and the data that I have used for the analysis and the findings in the light of the digital access and the triangulation of it with the teacher cognition. I'll also talk about the implications and recommendations. So if I talk about this particular field of the AI tools, like for example, it has all got revolutionized with the open AI, that is ChatGPT in November. And we found that across the globe, people instantly started making use of AI tools. But in academia, we find a sort of, you can say, the struggle on the part of teachers, where the teachers were initially, they were like, many of them were quite angry at what it is, and they were considering it as a sort of a tool for the learners to cheat, or there were certain apprehensions behind it. If you talk about the AI scare, so that was very much there if you talk about it initially. But overall, the practices, they transformed with the advent of this particular technology. When we talk about the risks of reproducing inequities, so we find here, I'll talk about Van Dyke's model of a digital divide, and I would also refer to the concern of UNESCO on it, which talks about that we are entering into an era of new digital divide, where we talk about the lack of motivation on the part of the people, and especially the older generation, or those who are actually the so-called custodian of knowledge. And when it comes to the younger generation, those who are making use of it every day, the learners, so there we find that they are more comfortable with technology as compared to the people who are their teachers. So uh, we'll talk about, therefore, the teachers' beliefs and how they just try to make use of technology. And here in this discussion, I'll also talk about the lack of analysis of AI policies, though universities across the globe are devising the AI policies. Higher education institutions, higher education organizations, they're all developing their policies, but the policies are talking about some of the aspects, but they are not addressing all of them. I'll talk about that a little bit. So it's basically through the digital access and the cognition lenses. If I talk about digital divide, the model given by Van Dyke, it's basically talk about the four layers of access. It talks about the motivational access, that how motivated the users are in making use of technology. And the second level of access is the material, that is the access to the resources, what resources are available. If I talk about Pakistan, here we often find the power outage and the lack of internet connection, and the other resources. Even students and the teachers, they often do not have the smart technologies, whatever we are talking about, that is bit advanced than the basic technologies available to them. And the third level is of the skills access. That means that how much they know about the technologies and how much they are aware of the effective use of those technologies. And then the last one is that if they are motivated, they have the resources, they are trained as well, But how much frequently they are making use of those technologies, that's also the point that is of concern, that is usage excess. And the second uh, lens which I'm looking at, that is teacher cognition, where I'll talk about the teacher's beliefs, their knowledge, and their decision making. At the same time, teacher identity and the pedagogical approach. What is their pedagogical approach? We usually see in Pakistan that the teachers, or even across the globe, we often find such things that the teachers rely more on the teacher-led classrooms, and where the teacher talk time is larger as compared to the student participation time or the student talk time. So if I talk a little bit more about teacher cognition, what teachers know, believe, and think about teaching, learning, and their roles. And it is often shaped by their own experience, their training, and the context, that whatever is available to them, it shapes their practice. So their cognition actually affects the use or rejection of the tools that are available to them. It also helps them, or maybe it is not helpful for them at all when it comes to the interpretation of the policy that is given to them by the institution. And their cognition also affects their willingness to adopt new pedagogies in this age of AI. And it's also about their beliefs about student autonomy, ethics, and the teacher's role. So, moving on to the research questions which I have explored in this particular study, that is, how do AI policy documents reflect each digital access layer? Where do teachers' beliefs align or conflict with policy discourse? Under what conditions does AI function as a crutch versus a necessity? As for methodology of my study is concerned, it's basically the qualitative document analysis. I developed a small corpus of the data that I have gathered from my teachers, the participant teachers, and they actually devised their policies in the light of the university policies. So my participants were the university teachers, and they have generated their policies, their policies which they have given to their students at the beginning of the course in the semester of 2025, so that the learners can make use of the technologies in the light of teachers' policy. And then I have also taken the teacher's action plan for making use of AI in the classroom. The analysis was basically thematic, and it focuses on the access layer, which I mentioned in the previous slide. And I have triangulated it with the teacher cognition framework work by Bob. The first layer, which is motivational access. So if I talk about the motivational access, we often talk about that if the teachers or the users are not motivated enough, so then they do not look for the opportunities, and they do not go for making use of the resources that are available to them. So the first step is the motivational access. So the teachers' policies, they focus on that AI as aid, not substitute. So that was the first clear thing which I was referring earlier, that the literature actually talks about that AI is basically when they were there was the time like in 2024, people were still that time is there when people were quite afraid of, especially the teachers or people in academia were afraid of that this AI technology would replace teachers. So, but the teachers, I think so, they have just grown out of or this fear, or they have just overcome this fear, and now they talk more about that AI is an aid, not a substitute of the teachers. And the important point which I have taken from my data, that is AI tools will be used as an aid and not as a substitute for human effort. And this is what they are asking their learners as well, that the learners can make use of AI tools as an assistance, as a support, as a help, but not it should not be like they can use it in the process of the writing, but they cannot submit the work which is the product of AI. So I also found that the teachers are reflecting on their professional identity, and they're quite concerned about the ethics that are around the use of AI. The next is about the material access. And here, what I found that all the teachers are quite aware and they assume that ChatGPT, Grammarly, Worldwall, or many such AI tools, including Gemini and Copilot, and there are a number of them. They are available to them and to their learners as well. And so in the policy, there is a minimal discussion on infrastructure constraints. So they have not talked about it. That means that my participants, they assumed that the learners would be having the access to the AI technologies. And if I talk about it with respect to the teacher's cognition, so AI is basically seen as aspirational in under-resourced settings. The next point which I focused in the layer, that is the skills access. And I found in the data that there was they were talking about the workshops and the tutorials, and they were talking about that they are going to help the learners through different seminars and workshops and tutorials to make use of the AI, effective use of AI tools. That shows that the teachers themselves are to some extent well versed in the AI technologies. But still, they were talking about that they need more training on that area when it comes to their action plan. They talked about they need training to learn how to use these tools effectively. So overall, they indicate awareness of the skill gaps, but they rely on ad hoc training, whatever the training they have received, and most of them they actually talked about that they train themselves in making use of AI technologies. The last layer was related to the usage access. Here, I found that in their action plan, the teachers actually talked about that they allow their learners to make use of AI tools, usually for the grammar drills or for rephrasing. And they allowed them to make use of Quillbot or the paraphrasing of the sentence, rephrasing of the sentences for the correct grammar or correct structure. But what I found that is the limited use for collaboration or critical thinking or some reflective tasks in their even in their action plans. So if I compare it, what is whether AI is a crutch or a necessity, so their responses were actually talking about the over reliance on drills when it comes to the use of AI, and they are talking about the rejecting students or they are not allowing their student to make use of AI generated text, and the, and often they showed their concern on this thing that if they are going to make use of AI tools for the language correction, so maybe it's just a mechanical correction and the students will over rely on the technology. And when it comes to necessity, they consider that it's a good scaffold for struggling learners, and they can, with the large classes where the teachers cannot provide the feedback to all the students, and in the under-resourced classes, AI could be a good tool in the hands of the teachers where they can provide the feedback with the help of AI tools. They also encourage the learners in making use of AI tools for idea generation so that the learners can navigate AI tools autonomously. And in this way, AI tools would be a sort of necessity for the learners when it comes to um, breaking that writer's block, or when it comes to generating the ideas around the topics, or creating a sort of an outline at the start of the activity, something like. So here I have certain excerpts from the data. AI as crutch used to bypass brainstorming or writing effort. So teachers showed their concern that the learners may they would not brainstorm on their own, or they would not go for free writing, rather they would use AI tools and they would over rely on AI tools. Heavy reliance on rephrasing tools like Quillbot or students may copy responses without evaluating the accuracy, without verifying, or without going for whether the information is correct. Therefore, we often hear the word like AI fabricates, AI hallucinates, and we often talk about that it provides the false information. So instructors fear students submit AI generated answers verbatim. So that these are the things where the teachers were quite concerned. And when it comes to the AI as necessity, used to scaffold ideas and language for struggling learners, feedback generation helps improve writing in large classrooms, as I talked earlier, used for model generation, but followed by critical editing and discussions. So they actually encourage the learners, they plan to encourage the learners on doing this thing. And it's a great tool for idea generation, vocabulary support, and learner independence of the other tools. On triangulating it with the this excess layer with the cognition insight, so I have got the information like this. So at the level of motivation, we find that the policies which the teachers were formulated, AI framed as support, not replacement. So the teachers view that it is they are quite concerned about their role and the ethical use of AI technologies. So it's basically teachers' concern that they were quite concerned about the ethical use of AI. And at the second level, that is the material. So where we talk about the infrastructure, so teachers often assume that infrastructure is available and they did not problematize it, and they perceive AI as an external for others, not for themselves. They are considering it AI for their learners most of the time, not for their own practices. So they talk less about their own practices and they talk more about the practices of their learners. And when it comes to the third level, that is skills. So training requested, but they just it's sort of not unstandardized sort of training, and they reflect on evolving beliefs and their conditional acceptance of the technology. So we say that the teachers are still in the stage of where they have to embrace technology and they have to accept the changes that are occurring around them. So still they are struggling in that phase. And when it comes to the usage level, we find that at the surface level, they are making use of AI tools, or they are allowing their learners to make use of it, but it's just on the surface level tasks. So they are basically dominated when we talk about the grammar correction or the sentence rephrase because of the wrong syntax or some other errors. And when we look at the cognition, we find that the teachers, they are actually talking about the procedural mindset. They are talking about, they emphasize more on correctness over creativity. So if I talk about the implications for policy and practice, so embed equity audits, address infrastructure gaps. So if we talk about the equity, so like we are living in Pakistan and people in Pakistan, they speak different languages. Like there are 75 languages that are spoken in Pakistan, but English is predominantly the language of education because all the material is available in English. So there we find that the learners, they often struggle with this target language, which is spoken usually in academic arena, and it's not spoken outside. So these tools, though they are like ChatGPT understands a little bit Urdu, but it's not fluent in it when it comes to this the speech part of ChatGPT or some other tools. So there we find that it contains there is the limited data. If I talk about the data that is from Pakistan or the voice of Pakistani people, or our context. So there we find that there is that infrastructure gap, if I talk about it. In the large language model, that gap exists. So that can be bridged, and that can be maybe in future we'll have smarter AI tools. The next point is related to teacher education. So we need to integrate AI pedagogical modules in the TESOL curricula, because this is where this is actually we are in the pedagogical shift, where we need to think about it now, how to teach the learners of this Gen AI age. So that's important. And the last point related to the professional development, we need to move from tool training to cognition aligned reflective workshops. So instead of just training them about the tools, we need to talk about that, how they're going to make use of it, how effective is the use of certain technologies, and where they are going to make use of it, and how much they are going to make use of it. So all these things are quite important when it comes to actual practice. A little bit more on it. Teacher training must start with teachers' belief systems, not just technical skills. So that's just to reinforce the point. Encourage reflective practices. Teachers should critically explore how AI affects their role and teachers' agency, and incorporate cognition sensitive training models, what Bog refers to as cognitive alignment between policy and classroom reality. That's very much important. And invite teachers to co create AI integration strategies, validating their experience and encouraging ownership. Um, I recommend the contextual needs analysis using Venn Dyke's layers, which I discussed initially, and cognitive alignment workshops explore beliefs and roles of the teachers, and co-creation of AI integrated lesson frameworks with teachers, and inclusive design where multilingual corpora or uh, bias could be mitigated. Um, I conclude with AI in ELT can bridge or widen divides. It depends on access, cognition, and pedagogy. So the steps that the study recommends is assess one AI tool via digital access model, facilitate teacher reflection on AI beliefs, and co-develop an AI-enhanced, equity-focused lesson. Thank you so much.